We bridge your knowledge to success.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Adhitya Talks. And today we have Mr. Pranav Kumar. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I am fine. It's an honor to do your interview. And today I think we are going to have a very interesting discussion. But for the benefit of our viewers, can you tell us about your journey as an entrepreneur and a businessman and how you came to this point in your life?
Yeah, I mean that's. Thanks for asking this question. So I started Plus Capital in 2002. Actually, I dropped out from my college and started this. The journey was pretty accidental, actually. HDFC Bank actually opened a first branch of their bank in our city. And there was a hoarding which says that, hey, just email ID is sufficient to open your account. And then I have opened the account based on my 12th grade certificate and few email IDs, which was some email from rediff.com. And that time Gmail was not that popular. And
Yes.
I kind of have opened the account and I remember the name of my relationship manager, Hitesh Verma. So one day I was walking into a bank and he told me that, hey, tomorrow, if you will invest some money into this particular financial product, you will get 3 rupees dividend next day. So I was very intrigued that what is this dividend and how it works. So I have given two checks of 6,000 each in two different funds, and then I have missed writing the date on the checkbook, and that's how I encountered these asset management companies and started taking interest. And my father used to tell that, hey, everyone reads this white newspaper and you read this yellow newspaper, because I was always into Economic Times and ET Bucks and all those papers. And that's how I have started Plus Capital. Professionally wanted to make it a career, dropped out from my college, started Plus Capital. 2002 till 2007, there was a cyclical bull run. So everyone was making money. I was closely following Warren Buffett, and kind of at that point of time, everyone was making almost double digit and triple digit return. When 2007 came, we have taken a decision that, like, market was like growing a lot, but like, we have, based on some of the approach and thinking and following some of the pattern and trends, we have decided to expose 40% of our customers' money into a gold mining fund through a feeder fund of BlackRock. And then when 2008 Lehman collapse has happened, subprime crisis has happened, actually, that 40% exposure has given 300% return, and kind of this 60% went down by 50%. So overall we were positive, and I don't know, all other parameters also were conducive, and we got first national award from CNBC in 2008. Then I was visible. Everyone was knowing. The later I have completed my degree in economics, and probably and like after that, scaling up the company was a problem. Like, we were in the six cities. So I was talking to one of my friend. He is now in kind of Austin. So he was telling me that, hey, Pranav, either you hire a capable CEO or you make yourself capable. And that's when I've decided to go to ISB. And I was youngest in the history of the program, which I have attended in ISB. And 29 years of age, 12 years of experience, went to ISB. First time as a part of some of the international immersion, I was in US, in Wharton and Kellogg. Met few of my professors like Professor Srinivas, and he discovered this term called conjoint analysis, activity based costing, and all those things. He's in Stanford since last 40 years. And then, like, I met him, he encouraged me to try out few things in Silicon Valley. And everyone from my batch, few Chinese were there, like few people from sort of other countries as well. But everyone went back to their respective destinations. I have taken a flight to Silicon Valley, and first time I've landed, I've stayed in Airbnb, and that's when my entrepreneurial journey in US started. So I've created 100% subsidiary of Plus Capital in US and created a sort of company called Human Experience, and that was like very unique company. We can talk more about it maybe later stage of this talk.
Yes.
Which failed during pandemic, because of some of the, kind of the way economy was, coming out in United States, and I came to India, and then the asset side of business of Plus Capital was already there, where we were managing this investment side, and then I wanted to build this full stack solution. So what PlusCash does is manages the asset side and liability side, and how we can optimize both the things together.
Yes.
It's not just making return on assets, but also saving a lot of cost of interest on liabilities. So this is what my journey has been so far. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
This is really interesting because one thing I saw clearly in your story was you had a lot of determination and you worked consistently towards your goal. Because
Yeah.
having a dream at a young age and passionately following it until your age and achieving a lot of things, a success in this industry, it's really interesting to see, and it's really motivating because I everybody has a dream at a young age, and then that dream slowly gets diminished and they go into the 9 to 5 job and start working for employers, and they forget about their dream and care only about money. But you get kept on doing the work for your dream and following it. So it's really interesting to see. But one more thing, can you tell us what motivated you on how you started this venture, and how you found that passion of saving money and economics, and how you started a business at a young age? Because people, as young people, do not have that experience. They feel very scared into getting what is the word, getting into this area and starting their own business.
Yeah, yeah. So the initial motivation was not money, and the motivation was not even money now. So the idea was, if I like this particular area of identifying companies, identifying asset class, putting money into it, growing that money, and can I create something unique? Can I create something like really, really specific and unique in this particular area where I
Yes.
can create 100,000 jobs? That was my first motivation. I still remember that. How can I create, if I liked it, I want to create something very unique and specific in this particular area. Before I die, can I create 100,000 employment in this particular area and in this particular kind of a specific innovation on a specific way of doing things, managing their money we are trying to do. So that is what was like very much the driving force. And initial signals were also like the same. I very clearly remember few people from Aditya Birla Asset Management Company and Standard Chartered, like some of the other firms. They have joined us because like they liked the whole idea of the way we are building the company when I was just 16 or 17. So I think that it's like sometimes you are driven, and when people join your drive, it becomes like really, really important, and like becomes a conducive driving force. The environment become conducive, and then you start performing in that conducive environment. Yeah.
Yes. So that's really interesting. So what we can learn from your story is following your passion and going after your dreams. And if you keep doing that, I think success is not about money and all these objective goals. It's about being happy. And if you achieve that in the lifespan, I think that's the most important thing. And your startup and your business is very interesting, and I think it is an inspiration to many. But let's talk more about your product, your recent fintech startup. Very it sounds very promising. How do you offer financial management, and made it more accessible and streamlined for many individuals across the board?
Yeah, so when I started talking to all these directors of big tech companies about
Yes.
our idea that what we want to build, most of the time what we have seen, actually they have made 1,000% return in last 15 years or 12 years or 13 years with Plus Capital already. So we wanted to talk to them about that, hey, this is what we want to build in Plus Cash, and where we will take a net worth based approach, and will create sort of net worth based approach where asset side and liability side we will take care of them together. So the unique problem what we have seen is most of the time these big folks like director level or even vice president level people, they are paying 9.5% on their home loans, and the quantum of that home loan is like probably 2 crore, 2.5 crore, 3 crore, and they have the deposit in the bank in a form of FD, which is generating 5.5, 6% return.
Yes.
So they are paying far more on their liabilities what they are generating in their asset side. So that's what was like very frustrating, that they are making far less than what they are paying. So this mismatch, and this I have like figured out with hundreds of people working in the tech industry, because they do not know the liquidity aspect, probably that how I can allocate the money, where like I can create the liquidity, also I can create some upside, and sort of balance these two things. So that's why Plus Cash came into our mind. So Plus Cash, if you want to derive in one word, it's increment. Plus Cash means increment by not having good return on your portfolio, but also increment by saving a lot on your interest cost. So this is how we have just combined this asset side and liability side, the portfolio side and the credit side, and then also trying to introduce some of the spending element to it. So whole stack of the money, like where you have investing, borrowing, and spending on one finance platform. Because money is simple. Money is simple. Money is very, very simple. If you have money, you invest. If you do not have it, you borrow. And when you have it, you spend. So if we can just create this marriage properly, then you understand that where to spend, how much to spend, at what cost you can borrow, at what rate you can make. And then it becomes like really, really interesting. And that's what we are doing at Plus Cash.
I think this is really interesting because there are many platforms and there is a lot of information regarding all these monetary things. And people have been exposed to too many things at a very little short amount of time. And your platform, I think, solves many pain points because people do not have generally time to manage all their assets and keep a good eye on things. It is possible, but it takes a lot of time. And I think your platform makes things very easy or all across the board, and people can make actual money out of their investments while working at a job somewhere and not having to worry about seeing into this and that and managing their portfolio and balance sheet. So that's really interesting. And as you told earlier, your story, you've been an entrepreneur since the 2000s, and this is really interesting. What is your advice for the young individuals that want to get into startups and entrepreneurship? What is your advice for them, and what are your learnings from your experience?
Yeah, so path is going to be very different for everyone. Path is very unique. If Tiger Woods is teaching someone golf, not necessarily he is going to be a golfer like Tiger Woods. So there is no how to, there is no prescription. But if you follow the passion, you follow your purpose, the follow you what you want to achieve, then things will fall in the place. Even if it is not falling in the place, you try different things, you try coming across to a different things, different scenario, you grow. I always say this during my talks in some of the colleges where I go, that with the age, experience has no value. With the age, only thing changes is maturity level. So your understanding about that topic will gradually evolve. You will understand it more. People give more weightage to doing, a lot of weightage to doing, that you execute, you fail fast. I don't believe in failing fast, actually. I start giving more weightage to understanding than the doing. So that's what a framework probably people can take, that understand it more and understand it by your own. Because most of the time at that age, when people are going out and taking advice, they are taking advice from those people uh, who probably they have not done anything their own, because they are surrounded with those kind of people. They go out and simply ask that, hey, here is the thing what I want to do, and probably can you tell me that what is your advice. But that guy whom you are probably asking this question doesn't have that merit to answer your question. So that's where I would suggest you that you understand it, you understand your desire, you understand your drive, you understand what motivates you, and then probably go ahead and just do it and understand it and experiment it, create your own processes, and then it will happen someday.
Yes. So that's really interesting. The processes and the a startup and a business is like a machine. It's you have to make the process repeatable and scalable. So I think that's really interesting. And learning from your problems and challenges, I think that is one of the most that is a wisdom that is acquired by many entrepreneurs who are successful. So you have been in this field for around 20 years, and you have a lot of experience and you have faced many challenges. So what have you learned from them? And we were talking earlier, you said that we could have this discussion as well. Your second startup, can you tell us about it a bit?
Yeah, I mean, initially my challenge was like I used to get affected a lot with the failures, and now I do not see it from that lens. When I started doing human experience in San Francisco, the value proposition was very clear that we connect people based on common touch points and remove stranger danger biases. So Airbnb, when you go to the host, I lived in almost 5 to 7 countries with these hosts, long term, maybe 3 months, 6 months, 8 months. But every time when I'm selecting these hosts, I used to see that where he is from, whether he is from ISB, Wharton, Stanford, or Kellogg's, where I briefly being the part of, so that I can talk. I'm a vegetarian, so is the food preference is matching, or any other stuff like commonality. So if we have something in common, then like no stranger danger goes away, and I'm gonna live with them. So that was the motivation. So we have started creating this. The personas where like no you just put those touch points host and those 5 touch points, and then people can select their their host based on their preferences. We started onboarding a lot of hosts in Mountain View, Fremont, and all these areas of Silicon Valley, in Palo Alto, in Castro Street near Mountain View, and then like they have started onboarding. At one point of time, Airbnb knew about it the way Craigslist knew about Airbnb, the way they have initially onboarded a lot of people from Craigslist. So this is how we have started. And then Wave Capital, General Catalyst, some of the partners of General Catalyst is a famous venture capital funds. They were taking interest. We were exchanging few emails, creating some early traction, and doing working with my team at University Avenue, Palo Alto, which is very close to Stanford. So very closely embedded into a Stanford ecosystem as well, understanding the product thought process and all those things. But after few years of spending, the pandemic came, and like no everyone was struggling. All the people in this particular space, they have struggled a lot. and including Airbnb, and then probably I have to wrap up. And part of the journey was getting got impacted by U.S. government policies during the Trump administration as well. And then I came back to India, and then probably was figuring out some of the things, changed some of the value proposition in India for human experience. Tried it for almost 9, 10 months, or even a year, and then that wasn't working. We have started doing it in Bangalore with a little bit different value proposition, but it wasn't working in India so far. And that's when I've decided that Plus Capital was feeding me all the way since last so many years, and finance was my core. And I was having this attitude somewhere in my within me that finance to मैं कभी भी कर लूंगा.
हाँ जी.
I will do finance at any point of my time. Like, no, I breathe it. I live it. Live with finance. I live with numbers. I like discussing these companies, their value proposition, their growth trajectory, their product differentiation in the listed space. But that's why a lot of people from Silicon Valley, they were advising me that, hey, if you are going, just get into the VC. You raise some money, and then like a lot of people, they were giving the examples of, and like start deploying, because you have a very good judgment about understanding these companies. But I have decided that, hey, that's easy maybe, because there are a lot of money available on the table. And so let me create something of my own. And that's when PlusCash came. Yeah.
That's really interesting. तो फाइनेंस की बात आपके दिल में अटकी रह गई और कभी ना कभी वो उभर गई. So it's really interesting to see. And you returned to finance, and it's good. And you came back to India as well. That is really interesting. And as of now, finance की दुनिया में आप वापस आ गए हैं, तो आपसे पूछना चाहूंगा, finance and every other industry as of now, technology is impacting a lot in many ways, and all of these big players are now interested to invest in this specific area, technology, and it can solve many of these pain points, and you are also looking into it. But what should people, fintech enthusiasts and people should look out for? And what do you think fintech, what is the potential of fintech as of now, and what can it do in the future?
Yeah, unit economics is very important, and your TZ is very important. Your target audiences, if you are building the product for the bottom of the pyramid, where the transaction value is like really small, then you cannot monetize it with the human intervention. But we are very clear since the beginning of PlusCash that we want to cater probably the top of the pyramid or mid of the pyramid in the later stage of the product cycle. I have always discussed about it, that when you create the aspiration for top of the pyramid. I have spoken again in some of the IIMs and classes when I was taking that if you are a Maruti Suzuki car and you want to bring a 70 lakhs rupees car, nobody is going to buy. But if Mercedes is coming up with 30 lakhs rupees car, then probably everyone is going to buy it. Okay. So when you create an aspiration for top of the pyramid, you buy, or like you create a product for top of the pyramid, then probably it becomes the aspiration for mass in the later stage of the product life cycle. So that's what is very important to understand. And then one unique differentiation, which I think is going to be very important, that when I meet a lot of entrepreneurs, and when they say this, hey, what kind of product you are building? And they answer this, hey, I'm building a tech product. So my answer to them is tech can't be a product, right? You are solving a business model, and tech is just an enabler. So if tech is just an enabler and you are solving some business problem, then technology is good to solve and scale those challenges. And humans are really good for building the trust. So we always believe that the value proposition we are going to bring, especially a couple of million Indians, or 3, 4, 5 million Indians, like active mutual fund investors or stock market investors, that particular audience will always look for a human to be the part of this whole process. I always say that if you are investing a couple of thousand rupees or even a lakh rupees, probably the platforms are good. But No one can take the decision around investing a crore or 50 lakhs or 70 lakhs through just a platform. So that's why we are very clear that we want to make it scalable. Definitely, we want to make it scalable, and we are just finding out different distributions, channels, and areas and the GTM strategy to make it more successful. But the core is that how we can create a product which is the combination of humans and technology in terms of like solving their financial problem and money related problems.
Yes, I think the right amount of human and the right of amount of technology goes a long way to solving people's pain points. And artificial intelligence is also busting out many interesting things. And generative AI is also a very interesting thing that people and many fintech, many finance companies are looking into. And I think it's really interesting to see how technology is impacting this area. And I think there is a very bright future for the people that are looking to invest. So this is really interesting. But you have made let's move on. You have made you have mentioned you have made a very positive impact in the world through finance, technology, and business. Could you share any specific social or environmental initiatives you have taken or plan to undertake throughout your entrepreneurial endeavors?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to say that was the part of a global organization called Art of Living between 2010 and 2000, maybe 13, 14, and before that as well. So I was signatory for one of the trust of Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, Art of Living, and kind of acquiring these lands. I was instrumental in operating one of the Asia's largest free school called Sri Sri Gyan Mandir in one of the Naxal affected area called Ikwari near Aurangabad and in Bihar actually. And then when I joined and I kind of taken the responsibility around it, we have visited the place, kind of taken the initiative. The school bus was a challenge because we were collecting the students. There were like almost 2,250 students in that particular school in Ikwari, and kind of the school buses were required, and we were not having school buses. So first time before Arundhati Bhattacharya, Pradeep was the chairman of Pradeep Chaudhary was the chairman of State Bank of India. We have contacted them under CSR. We have taken some school buses rolled out, food and everything. And the district topper of that school in board exams for consecutive 3 years were from our school, not from the paid private schools. So those are the initiatives we have taken around the education. And I personally like it a lot. In California as well, like, no, I was the part of teaching and doing some of these things, those programs, which is like which was the part of sort of Art of Living. Yeah. So that's my sort of social, thing.
Really interesting. Many people say that entrepreneurs are usually very busy people and very reclusive, but I think it's important to give time to other endeavors as well and contributing to the community and looking inside yourself, because art of living and all these things and yoga is very important for you and your mental well-being, which can be compromised during these startup endeavors. But what can you talk about your long-term goals and aspirations? Because I think your startup is really interesting and you're working towards it. But what is the long-term goal for you, not your startup? And what do you want to do?
Yeah, if I can create something significant for individuals in the space where we are operating, and we call it the money. So I was talking about some of the proposition today as well, that like, how can we make the money unique? How people associate with money? If they have the money, what are the aspirations they have? That's why we call ourselves that we are not. And I tell my people as well, new hires as well, that don't call yourself a finance company, but call yourself a finance and lifestyle company. So we definitely want to become a lifestyle company more than the finance company. And we see things from that lens. We have hired a lot of people from hospitality industry because we see that particular overlap in the way we are interacting with our users and the way we want to create the niche around some of the value proposition we are working on. So yeah, and achieving the goals in terms of quantifying the number, we don't know that where we will reach. Okay, but like at the end of the day, the aspiration is that you create something unique which will become the part of future generations, and then they will solve the problem of finance, they solve the problem of money by selecting some of the approach, some of the unique approach we have developed over the year period of time.
Yeah, this is really interesting. And as a startup company, and as an individual for you also, building a company that makes an ecosystem and keeps the user comfortable is the ultimate goal. Because when you look at Apple, Apple is a technology company, but it builds an ecosystem. When you have a MacBook, and then you need an iPhone, and everything just fits into place, and then you realize the value proposition that Apple brings. It is not the technology. There are companies that have better technology than Apple, but something that saves time for you and is very easy to use. I think that is the value proposition that Apple is actually bringing to the table, and that ecosystem contributed it to be the one of the biggest companies in the world and being a $1 trillion company. So it is really interesting to see, and very interesting.
What I will add
Yes,
here is like many people will misunderstood you in the beginning.
yes,
Many people will misunderstood. Many people, because most of the value is going to get created when people are misunderstanding. Because when people, the business model, the value proposition, the different product is clear to the market, then everyone knows that what's happening to the company. But the actual value gets created when people are actually not very convinced. But few people know that there is a value around it. And then
yes,
they create the maximum wealth around that particular proposition. And that's what I would suggest to young entrepreneurs as well, that if you are understanding something, probably someone is not understanding it and they are getting, it's completely, it is misunderstood to them.
yes.
Then the chance is like, no, you stick to it. You go ahead with your flow. You do whatever needs to be done. And probably when they will understand it, the actual company value and the growth is going to be already on the table.
Yes. As a startup founder, for a startup founder, one of the most important thing is to bring value. You cannot fool people and then you can be successful. The most important thing is bring value. Google does not take money from people directly. It takes from ads. So it brings value to you, and it's one of the biggest company. So it's really interesting, and that is also one of the points. But sir, from your journey and as a person, what could you suggest to young children watching this video to do something that you couldn't do in your childhood that they should do?
Not listening to the people. The most of the influence, the kind of company you are building, initially people will not understand it, the vision. And if it is a very copycat kind of example, where like people are building the company which is already existing in some part of the world, in Silicon Valley, in US, and you are building the same company in India, then it's like a different case. But if you are building something very unique, then not being shakeable very easily, or not even being shakeable at all, and sticking to what you want to achieve is the only thing which is very important. And the few other things which becomes like really really complementary in the whole thing is your desire to do something. Because I don't believe in motivation. If because if people motivate you, motivation is very temporary in nature. You cannot stick onto the entrepreneurial path with the motivation. Because if people will motivate you, movies are motivating you, situations are motivating you, your parents are motivating you, that's very, very temporary in nature. Because the path is so difficult that you will definitely get derailed from your path if it is externally motivated. So if it's your desire, you are sincere about it, then you will do it, whatever it comes, whatever comes. It
Yes.
is your unique path, it is your unique journey, and you will do it in your
Yes.
unique way, not described or not getting dictated by someone else. Yeah.
Yes, I think this is one of the most important learnings, and you go on to realize this over a period of time. You do not realize it at first, because when you do it, there are the first dream you have, you see a movie star, and then you want to become a movie star like Chulbul Pandey or Salman Khan, and then you think, I will become a police officer. And when you go on and when you try, and then you think, oh my God, this was just a moment's thought, and I did not want to do this. Actually, I am
Yeah.
interested into this field. And then when you
Yeah.
work towards it, you feel the gratification. So I think this is really interesting and very important advice. And it works, because if you succeed in that wrong career, you may be sitting at a wrong place at a wrong time in your life, and you may
Yeah.
regret that decision. And then you cannot change things as easily as you could at an early age. And when you're at that stage in life, when you're old and when you have a family. So it's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that. So, sir, for the young individuals and for the people watching this video, what are some books that you would like to recommend to them? 2 or 3 books, because books are very important for knowledge gaining. And personally, I fancy to read a lot of books, and I think I can say that for my viewers as well.
Oh yeah, so Good to Great is one I recommend, and that's one of the book I have studied. Um, Other than that, I have studied few of the things which probably I would not like to suggest, because I like to perform in that particular zone. But still, if you are telling me, I can name those books. Like Do Nothing is one of the book which is like created a lot of impact on me personally, because when you are mentally very occupied or trying to find your answers through books, that's where you get confused, because most of the books, different books, are telling you different things. So I would not suggest us so far a lot of I'll not give a lot of weightage to any book, because I believe that things happens with the virtue of understanding. When you understand it really well, and books are here to help you sometimes, but knowledge, according to me, when you are teaching something or mentoring something, or someone is your coach, book acts like a coach. It's a very oblique setting. You cannot directly impose anything on any person. But most of the time, when we study these books, what we understand is we relate to our situation through these books. We understand that, oh, this is the answer this book has, and this is what they have written, and this is how it is applicable in my life. So when we understand things from that particular lens, things doesn't work that way, because the book has been written in some different context, in different era. The time had changed, things have changed. Okay, so yeah, books are important. Some of the books are like I have studied is I'm telling you, uh, but you do not, like, one caution when you are going through these books uh, is that do not find your answers through those books, because their answers might not be a very great fit for your situation and your motivation or the things you want to achieve in your life.
Yes. I think books are very important, because I think they allow you at a very young age. For me, for my case specifically, allow
Yeah.
you to ponder into allow another type of situation, another type of worldview, another type of experience. You get to experience that
Yeah.
from the corner of your house, and you can
Yeah.
learn anything if you have a great book and they are condensed modules of experience. Someone has
Yeah.
worked 50 years in his life to pour his experience into one book, and you get to read it for 300
Yeah.
pages. And I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
is a
So that is,
very great value proposition for you, and you get to
yeah.
learn a lot, which is a very
Yeah.
great thing, because at in the old times you were not allowed to read as much books, and you were not able to get worldview into many different things. We can talk about America, or we can talk about Russia sitting here in India, and we have
Yeah.
worldviews about things, and we can invest into companies that are very far away located, and all of these things. So technology and books are very important things that have come into my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you, and I agree with you somehow. But like my the point I wanted to bring is like if if you want to relate to your situation based on those book findings and how to's, then probably that's where I have made few mistakes in my life by reading those books and associating with my situation and try executing my particular passion, devotion, and desire through those things which are written in that particular book is probably detrimental. But I that's why I give more weightage to experiential learning, because if you are surrounded with right kind of people, then you automatically become you. If you want to create a tech company or a finance company, then you surround yourself with people in finance. Then that's more dynamic. The learning is you are imbibing a lot of knowledge about that particular industry sector and that specific thing, and then probably gradually 2 years 1 year later you become like them, or maybe part of you become like sort of them. So yeah, books are important, but practical exposure and surround yourself with those sort of people who are like part of your ecosystem is probably way more important. Yeah, that's what I wanted to tell. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very important, because that is why ultimately at the end of the day, experience is the one thing that caps it
Sure.
off. Learning from your own mistakes is, I think, one of the greatest teachers.
Yeah.
Experiencing the challenges and the problems firsthand, and being able to go through that and come out of it is one of the most important learnings that God can give you and situations can give you. And it is
Yeah.
really interesting. But books are not that are not applicable for something like that. They are more like, you are in finance industry and you're reading about some other industry, you do not know about it and you're not going to go into it, but just
Yeah.
for the like fun of your mind, you go into it and you read it and you enjoy it. So I think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
at a young age, books are very important. But
Yeah.
sir, you have done so much in your life. You have affected and solved many problems and helped many people. So you couldn't have done this without having an inspiration. Who is your inspiration, and who are your role models?
Oh, that's a very difficult question to ask, but probably I am devoted towards my. There were multiple role models in my life when I was on my some like 15 years of my spiritual journey, and when I was into a lot of corporate social responsibility and the part of one of the organizations where I was solving some of those things. They became my role model, but probably at this moment I give more weightage to my devotion. And I think that uh, the more you associate yourself with people and look upon people, the more you get distracted from your core goal and core objective in the life. So yeah, that's the way I'm living my life at this moment. So yeah, have I answered your question?
Yes, yes. This is really interesting. And I think having my one of the biggest role models are my parents, and I think parents are one of the most important people. But really interesting to see your idea. And moving on. Sir, can you advise two people whom you would like to see and learn from on this show, and why?
Uh, I would definitely want Tim Cook on this show.
Two people
Because,
that you know, not generally. Then there are many people that would say the same name. So
okay,
people that
okay,
you know.
okay. People I know is probably Radhika Gupta is one of the CEO of Edelweiss from asset management company. I think her name is Radhika Gupta. Yeah, and maybe another one is uh, uh, Kane Shiva Subramaniam. He's the fund manager for Franklin Templeton. He can give some insight about the valuation and some of the things. Shiva was like really the first phase of my financial journey where like no the way he was picking those companies into their funds, I was very inspired by his behavior. So that's why like no if he's coming, maybe it is going to be a deeper level discussion, but yeah, these are the two people can come and they can
Yes.
be part. Yeah.
Thank you for those references. And it was really interesting to have this discussion with you because since my childhood, I've been very into economics and finance. I When I was in seventh, eighth grade, there was Corona that time, and
Mm.
I used to go into. There was a course on Coursera. I think I learned about banks, shadow banks, how to manage a balance sheet, and then I used to make
Wow.
notes of those. So I have notes in my diary of that time with my bad handwriting, and I used to learn about many interesting things. And now I'm able
Wow.
to have a discussion with you. It's really interesting, and I it's very rewarding. I get to learn so many new things every day. I
Mhm.
really enjoyed this discussion, and I hope my viewers you also did. But
Yeah.
lastly, sir, thank you for coming on the show. I hope you enjoyed. I enjoyed very much. Please advise
Yeah.
what unique thing you have liked about Aditya Talks and any suggestions which you would like to be incorporated to improve the experience of our viewers.
Yeah. Aditya, the way you have articulated your questions, and it was not at all pre-designed, and the way we were talking and expressing, you were expressing yourself, and at this age, and kind of asking those questions, understanding those things, asking those counter questions, that's pretty incredible, and I definitely wish you all the luck. And kind of definitely you are gonna do great in your life, and if you are choosing finance, I'm so happy that you are going to come in this particular area, and wishing you all the best. Yeah, yeah.
Personally, I'm not into finance that much. It's just one of my hobbies. I have a
Okay.
gullak. I have a money. My piggy bank. I used to think that this money tree will make me very rich in the
Sure.
future, and I
Yeah,
invest from it into the stock market through my father's account. But it is really interesting, and it's one of my greatest hobbies, along with many other things. But it was really rewarding to have the discussion with you. Thank you for coming on the show, and my viewers. See you on next Saturday.
thank you so much.